Does Darius have to go? And the reason I asked, Chris Fedor was on the weekend on Spencer with Earl the Pearl and Spencer German. And he had said, point blank, here you go. Here's the first clip. This is Chris Fedor, Cleveland.com. Boom, shakalaka. Here it is. Boom.
I keep coming back to the same thing. Guys, I keep coming back to Darius has to go. Like, if you're going to reimagine the offense, if you're going to reconfigure the roster, and if you're going to reset your salary cap situation, this is a top-heavy team. This is a top-heavy roster. This is a team that is going to get really, really expensive as we continue to move forward. But if you're trying to accomplish all three of those things in one off season, there is one move that allows you to do that, and it's trading Darius. And it comes with this caveat, right? The package that they would be offered for Darius would have to be one that I would say yes to. It would have to be one that they would say yes to. And it would have to be one that I believe would make them a better basketball team and increase their chances of taking the next step as an organization and competing for a championship.
That's Chris Fedor on with Earl the Pearl and Spencer German on Saturday afternoon. Next time you'll have a chance to hear him on this show will be June 20th. 216-474-0092. Does Darius Garland have to? Well, if you got to trade Daryl with him, trade Daryl with him. Does Darius have to go?
Okay, so,
because hearing Chris say that, it's like, well, they're shopping him now because he wouldn't say that unless he knew.
Yeah, I wouldn't say
from who.
I wouldn't say he has to go, but I think it is very, very interesting that not only is his name coming up, there seems to be a little more credibility behind this. I assume that it was going to be too difficult for them because of the constraints of being near that second apron and what happens if they go into the second apron and the types of trades you can make. And boy, nobody likes any of the names that I bring up because none of those guys.
Because they're not as good.
They're not. Okay.
They're not as good.
They're not as good in the regular season. I do think, the guys that I brought up can be better in the playoffs because I haven't seen Darius be good in the playoffs.
Well, it's only been a few times and he's still young. He's still 25.
Right,
I know you've seen those guys be better in the playoffs.
I'm glad you brought it up.
But why can't Darius still be good in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Okay, let me walk into your tangled web of weaves then.
No, I'm glad you brought it up because I can't sit here definitively and say, guaranteed Darius is never going to have a good playoff run. Like, it stands to reason, especially in the Eastern Conference, that Darius, this should have been a great playoff run for him. But unfortunately, he gets injured, and it's a toe, and it happens to be something like the only thing worse than a toe injury for how people talk about you and your toughness would have been a pinky injury. Like, it's just nobody's going to respect a toe injury, even though it was so evident to anybody that it did bother him. He had to wear these special shoes. He was falling over himself when he tried to come back at the end of the series. I gave him credit for gutting it out, but instead people made fun of him more. So it was just an unfortunate set of circumstances this year.
I see your toe injury, and I raise you a jaw injury.
Oh, jaw.
Where you just, he looks fine, right?
Looks fine, yes.
Looks fine. Couldn't eat, apparently.
Caused him the season
through
from
a
hell.
straw. Here's Fedor a little bit further on Garland being a defensive liability, and he agrees with you about the playoffs, Tone.
For all of the greatness that he brings on the offensive end of the floor, he is a complete and utter defensive liability. So there's enough evidence here that tells you that every single time the Cavs get into a 7-game series, the opponent that's playing against the Cavs are going to target him relentlessly over and over and over again. But when you get further and further in the playoffs and your margin for error starts to shrink and little things become the difference between winning a series and losing a series, that's something that you have to consider. How many targetable players are you going to survive with on the defensive end of the floor? And if he's going to be that level of defender, guys, he's going to have to be all-time transcendent on the offensive end to make up for that. I'm talking Steph Curry levels. I'm talking Damian Lillard levels. And I don't know that Darius can be that type of player in a playoff environment.
So does Darius have to go?
Yeah, so when you
know my answer.
When you mention every time, Kenny, like the players that we've talked about, whether it's Jalen Suggs, Bobby Marks had mentioned Drew Holiday. Like, on paper, those guys are not as good as Darius Garland. Yet I'm watching the finals last night, and I had a joke tweet. It was a joke tweet saying, wow, Aaron Kraft was ahead of his time. If Aaron Kraft,
here we go with the Aaron Kraft.
Aaron Kraft could have played in these finals. What am I obviously referring to? Two guys, Alex Caruso and TJ McConnell. And no, it's not just because they're white. It's because, those guys have never been great shooters. They were not great shooters in college. What did they do? They defend. They get after it and defend. And then all of a sudden, those guys are hitting some key shots in the postseason. Both of them have substantial roles on 2 NBA Finals teams. Neither, we all agree, neither are as good as Darius Garland. Yet, who would you rather have in the playoffs right now? You'd probably rather have TJ McConnell or Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso's out there guarding Pascal Siakam. He's out there guarding Halliburton. He's guarding everybody. Same thing. And McConnell comes in, and it's an explosion. Every time he comes in, he's creating havoc. He's making things happen. And look at the contracts that both of those guys have. Way less money than Darius Garland's making. Caruso, it's like half as much money as he's making. Yet again, those guys are integral figures. Now, how do you make this work? How would you even make a trade work to go out and get the types of guys that I think we all agree that Donovan needs alongside him? It's been pretty impressive how many games they've been able to win. Darius and Donovan, that duo have been incredible in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
But in the playoffs, it just doesn't work. And I don't think it's going to.
We go to the phones. 216-474-0092. I disagree with you, but let's see where Demo stands on it. Demos and Shaker, you're next up on the fan.
Good morning. I heard the entire segment over the weekend with Fedor, and his basic premise was that the Cavs can't hang with Indiana, with Minnesota even, and OKC. And I dispute that. I think right there is because if that's the basis of your argument, I don't agree with it. I think that if you look back at the Cavs season, Game 2 against Indiana was the pivotal moment there. We were up by 20. We needed to win at home. We're up, and all of a sudden, my conspiracy theory about the refs and the point spread is there. But look what happened at the end there. You had a guy make a rebound and put the ball back in from a free throw. They looked at it on the instant replay, and they didn't even call a lane violation. And then we throw in the ball wrong. I think that the main, call it fall down for the Cavs in the playoffs were two things: injuries and Rick Carlisle outcoached Atkinson. I think you're seeing that happen right now. He beat up the Knicks the same way they beat up the Cavs, and now against OKC, they stole game one once again. And to not take into account the environment that the Cavs were in and what that is. And by the way, last year, Fedor said the exact same thing about getting rid of Allen and Garland if the trade was right. So he's just recycling his same old, and he's basing it on his observations. And honestly, the arrogance that drips from that guy's mouth.
Now, well, hold on. Now, Demos, I can't. That's your opinion. I can't let that go.
That's right.
And I thank you very much for the call. As far as Chris, he's not here to defend himself, and I know whatever. I can't allow that to happen.
I don't remember Chris saying what we just played. I don't remember him saying he's got to go.
That Chris is the most plugged-in guy within the Cavs.
Well, yeah. There's been plenty of people
Media,
who
right?
I've considered arrogant, but he says, well, I mean, that's the whole reason, what, I can't get into that right now. But he is as plugged in as you're going to find with the Cavs. Yes.
But it's not just
with
Chris.
the front office.
I mean, Brian Windhorst has said things recently. So there does seem to be some chatter about it. And Darius, here is one thing you got to consider, and this is kind of to Ken's point, but there are teams that would absolutely love to have Darius Garland.
And that is why I pause on trading him for names like that are comparable to TJ McConnell and Alex Caruso. Because if you have TJ McConnell and Alex Caruso for your basketball team, I think you can get a lot of people to sign off on bringing one of those guys in because they're playing in the finals. But if you're just giving me guys like that for Darius Garland, I mean, good God almighty, do you hear what you guys are saying? Do we hear what we're saying to each other? You can't say McConnell or Caruso. You were saying guys like them because those guys are on finals teams, on deep playoff teams. You could, if people are watching like Alex Caruso in the finals, you could sell some people on that. You can, because they're seeing him play at a higher level than what we have ever played at here with this group. But man, if you're going, well, it's like a player, like they're not going to give up Alex Caruso and OKC or anything like that. It's like, oh my God, that's a difficult sell for a guy like me. And I'd rather, honestly, as of this moment, I would rather just run it back with Darius and see what Jared Allen, I think, is a different conversation because I do think there's something schematic there that can be changed. And you're going to have to get Evan to demand the ball more in the offense. He's going to have to take real ownership of this basketball team. He's a meek guy. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it, but you have to force him to do something like that. But damn it, I got a 2-time All-Star who's able to fill it in, who's able to be a really great player in this league. And we're talking about giving him up for 6th and 7th guys, it seems. And that, it just sounds like when I say it like that, guys, does it not sound like an overreaction and a crazy overreaction at that? I know. He's always been the second guy. It's always people like Colin Sexton more than him, and they certainly like Donovan Mitchell more than him. I know I'm fighting an uphill battle on that one, but Lord Almighty,
I just wonder what
name's
Donovan
being thrown around.
I wonder what Donovan is thinking through all this because he stayed.
If he agrees with you, then he's gone.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and I wonder if the Cavs, how much of this offseason and what they plan to do, how much are they running by Donovan, and what does Donovan think about what he needs around him as he's seen these other teams make impressive runs to the NBA Finals and looking at the way those teams have built their rosters.
216-474-0092. If you guys are there, stay there. I'm going to get to you guys. Does Darius have to go? And 216-474-0092. I don't think Darius has to go, guys. I think we're getting kind of crazy here. I think this is starting to get a little bit out of control. You were mentioned, there's a clip here of Chet Holmgren coming up here where he is very complimentary of Alex Caruso, where I think, Alex Caruso, he's a bona fide gamer, man. You got to give him credit. I think a lot of people made fun of him and his look when he first got into the NBA and, hey, he looks kind of soft. You're like, nah, man, he's pretty hard. He can get after you. And I don't think anybody's joking about him anymore. Chet Holmgren, he got very defensive of him last night after the Oklahoma City Thunder Game 2 win to even the NBA Finals at 1 apiece.
Chet, how would you explain or describe Caruso's energy levels for a 30-year-old man?
Don't disrespect our GOAT like that, man. He's one of those guys who you know is going to bring it every single night.
He did have 20 last night in that win. Played 27 minutes. I think he's thinking energy levels. You're like, oh, well, you're like an end-of-the-bench guy. I think they feel highly about him. But are you bringing him in for Darius Garland, Anthony, himself, off the NBA Finals team that's probably going to win the championship this year?
No, I'm talking about players.
Okay, players like him. So
yeah,
that's
players that can be like him.
Hold on for a second. I got Darius Garland. I know who Darius Garland is, good and bad. I know who Darius is. You're going to bring in an also-ran from another team? I mean, because Chet Holmgren, you get defensive over Alex Caruso. I'm not bringing in Alex Caruso. I'm bringing in a player like him. Good.
Well, that's why Jalen Suggs is a very, very similar. And actually, Suggs has been much better offensive player over his career than Alex Caruso. But Suggs can't stay healthy. So, look, you're not bringing in perfect players. No teams are offering up their perfect wing for Darius Garland because this is a league where you want those wings. Oklahoma City and, to some extent, the Indiana Pacers, they have all those players. The Boston Celtics did too. Boston just with their injury situation, and they were going to lose that series anyway. But there's only a few teams that seem to have hoarded all these types of players that you want that can play both ends.
Yeah.
And I think here's part of my larger rationale. The Cavs have a lot of usage tied up. When I say usage, I'm talking about the guys that have the ball in their hands. They have a lot of usage tied up to Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. Well, what have we said all along? That this team is really going to be contenders when Evan Mobley becomes the best player on this team, or at least close to it.
Uh-huh.
Can that happen?
No.
With Darius and Donovan monopolizing the ball as much as they do?
Can't. You're right. Yes.
So, here's part of what I try to say, because I'm getting asked in every direction. Wait a second. You're telling me if Jalen Suggs is on the team and not Darius, where's the scoring come from? The whole point is that Evan Mobley has to become that guy.
Yeah.
You want your unicorn to be a guy that has the ball in his hands, initiates some of the offense. Don't we all think he's capable of doing that more and more each and every year? I didn't see a guy that could guard him in the Pacers series. Yet,
you're talking about Evan?
Yes. Why did Evan Mobley take the third most shots in the series? Why was it Evan Mobley? Why was Darius Garland taking as many shots if he was injured? still in the games that he played, why was he still taking more shots than Evan Mobley? So I think in a way, the two guards are blocking Evan Mobley from becoming what we think he can become.
He's got to be able to step up and say something for himself then now, doesn't he? Does he not? Is it, am I being too cheap about it? Am I not thinking it through? Can he stand in there and say that he needs the ball more? Can he not? I mean, we've had to have guys before yelling about other guys getting the ball. I'm sorry to be getting all mad at everybody. It's just, good God almighty, folks, think about what we're talking about here. I got a guy who covers the team as closely as anybody does anymore who's telling me that Darius Garland has to go. Okay, well, he's not telling me. He's telling Earl the Pearl and Spencer German. Okay, what am I getting for him? Because some of the names that you're mentioning here, it's not Luka Doncic, for crying out loud. But I'm good, Lord Almighty. It's sounding more and more.
That's what I need.
It's sounding more and more like Wayne Embry and Ron Harper all over again, man. I mean, you make a trade like that and you don't get to where you need to go. Heaven help us all, because the front office is the one that made the decision, and we're the ones that ended up paying the fiddler for it. I understand they're a disappointment. We didn't get to where we needed to go, but damn it, Tone, this is incredibly crazy stuff we're talking about here.
TJ McConnell this year averaged 9 points a game. Alex Caruso is a career 7-point-a-game player. I'd rather have both these guys in a playoff series than Darius Garland. So, no, by the name, you're not going to win a trade with Darius Garland. You're going to be upset if they were to trade Darius Garland for, and they'd get other things. You know, they would get those guys and other things in these types of trades that we're talking about. I don't think it's not just a straight-up Jalen Suggs trade that wouldn't even work financially. You're getting more.
I will tell you this. If they trade for Jalen Suggs or anybody else, and it's Darius Garland, I'm going to have to go the day they make it. I know how this works. I'm not going to lose my mind the day they make it. I'm going to say it's a fair warning for everything that's about to happen, because if you don't get any further, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear anything about it. And I will sit here. I will save my screaming and my yelling for next spring, because that takes a lot of faith to trade away a two-time All-Star, household name in this city. And I know he's got his drawbacks. I get that. But you trade a household name in this city for who? Who? You're Mr. Basketball in this station. You're our basketball guy. You better earn it then. Because, I'm coming after you with both barrels if this doesn't go our way. He is a tremendous, he doesn't do great defensively, but he's a tremendous basketball player. And trading that away for this type of stuff, that's a scary scenario, friends. Eric in Akron, hello.
Hey, good morning. So I got a couple things for Anthony. One, as far as defensive liability, let's talk about that first. I think in the modern NBA, they use a series of high screens to get the matchup they want. They don't just do it to Garland. They did it to Jared Allen against the Pacers when they put Halliburton on roller skates. Okay, so my second part of this is, if we trade Garland, who's going to bring the ball up in the playoffs? Because clearly they don't trust Porter enough to do it. So how are we going to do this exactly? Are we going to wear out Mitchell bringing it up? Are we going to trust Evan Mobley to bring the ball up? Like, we're still going to be wanting for a point guard, because we saw when Garland was out, we couldn't get the ball up the floor. So I don't understand the logic here of how this works from a basketball point of view. Like, at the end of the day, you need a point guard, and a capable point guard, to run your offense. And Garland is really good at that if healthy.
I watched 7 different guys bring up the ball for Indiana and Oklahoma City last night. I mean, those teams do not care who brings the ball up. I mean, SGA is the guy the ball lands in his hands, but I watch. They don't care. They outlet the ball. They get it across. It happened in one obvious example when we gave up that lead in game 2 and guys were gassed and they could have used Darius. There's no doubt. The whole point of this is not to act like Darius is just worthless. He's an amazing player. And for the first 3 months of the year, he was one of the best point guards in the league. Now, he regressed big time the last 2 months. And then again, it's another playoff season where this wasn't even necessarily his fault, but he just has not been able to be that. I talk about guys, and you heard Doris Burke has talked about this the playoff risers, the guys that hit another level, the guys like Alex Caruso, right? Drew Holiday. These guys have been in their careers. There are players out there that we may not even be talking about right now, but that because of their either athleticism, their length, their toughness, their grit, other things that we try to wrap our arms around that help you in the playoffs. Unfortunately, Darius has just not been that guy. And quite frankly, we know defensively he's been a liability. He also hasn't been good on offense. What is he giving you? For all the money he's making, what is he giving you in the playoffs?
And my second part of that is that, yeah, I mean, there's playoff guys like Neesmith. He can't make a three in the regular season, but he gets the playoffs and he goes crazy. But there has been guys that have the same time window as Mobley. I don't know that Mitchell has that time window, but Darius definitely does. Mm-hmm. So if you trade off Darius, are you confident that Mobley's going to make that step before Mitchell leaves? I just see it as kind of foolhardy and too immediate. It just I don't know. I'm nervous about it, especially with the second apron.
I got you. It's really tough. It does underscore this is not easy. It isn't like this is an easy thing to trade Darius and to guarantee that your team is going to be better. In fact, I'll make the argument, like if they traded for Jalen Suggs, who has health issues himself, durability issues, there's no doubt. But if you traded for him, my guess is you're going to win less games in the regular season. And fans won't like that either.
I'm going to get to more of you guys. I just think it feels just reckless to me. It feels irresponsible. 216-474-0092.
How would you feel if they just run it back and they get eliminated in the second round again in a bad Eastern Conference?
You know what? Let me tell you that